Greg, when the government of the country where the genocide occurred refuses to cooperate in proving that systematic killing of a certain community or group occurred, is it difficult for a foreign court to proceed with the case?
Yes, it certainly is. The problem with proving genocide is you have to prove the facts. There are three basic elements that you have to prove. You have to prove that it was an intentional killing or intentional destruction of a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group as such, in whole or in part. And now, that means that you've got to get the facts somehow and establish them. You've got to have witnesses. So it is hard because the witnesses, most of the witnesses to the riots in this case are in India. There are some here in the United States, and in fact, that is how this case is going to be brought in this New York court under the Alien Tort Claims Act.
Okay, and there is no legal case against this cabinet official in India. Is that not a major flaw of this lawsuit?
It's irrelevant to the two statutes under which this case is being brought. It's irrelevant whether there's been an exhaustion of remedies within India. The other issue that is often raised on the exhaustion of remedies is whether or not a government is permitting a case to go forward. And I think that arguably within India, it wouldn't be permitted, much less any opportunity be afforded to do the exhaustion of remedies.
Based on what Greg defined, how difficult it is to prove genocide, what kind of factual material is needed, give us a little bit overview of how systematic killing occurs, that you think there is a valid proof there.
I think Kamal Nath, against whom this case has been brought in New York court, was a member of parliament of the ruling party in November 1984, when Indira Gandhi was assassinated. And what two witnesses in New York, one Jaspir Singh and one Mohinder Singh, they have brought forward is that near Indian Parliament there is a big Sikh religious Gurdwara, Rakabganj, that a big crowd of people, hundreds of people, which was being led by Kamal Nath, they came, circled the Gurdwara, under Kamal Nath's direct direction.
No. Just tell that systematic killing was carried out throughout the country.
Yeah, actually that is what I am referring to, that not only that Kamal Nath was involved in this direct burning of the Sikhs of Rakabganj. Oh yeah, certainly. As Rajiv Gandhi, Indira Gandhi's son, took over as the Prime Minister, and then in all the Congress-ruled states of India, as in Delhi, in UP, in Bihar, in the far, even northeast, wherever Congress was ruling, under the direct orders of Indian Prime Minister then Rajiv Gandhi, systematic killings of the Sikhs was carried out, and their modus operandi was the same. Firstly, they came, attacked the Sikh religious place, took out the males out of their homes, burnt them alive, gang raped the women, and then moved on. So that was a systematic killing under the orders of the then Indian Prime Minister.
Do you think this cabinet official, Kamal Nath, we are talking about, escaped the Indian courts because of his political power, or were the charges against him were vague, sort of riots, rather than systematic attempt, intentional attempt to target one community?
If we may look at even Delhi alone, as per even Indian government official record, 3,006 were burnt alive. And not only Kamal Nath, all others, those who are even cabinet ministers in the President Manmohan Singh's government, none of them, though their names are in the FIR, which is called First Information Report, Kamal Nath's name is there, so is Jagdish titled Sajjan Kumar. The fact is that not a single political official or leader or member of parliament has been indicted or convicted of any crime related to November 84.
Okay, George, is it a politically bad move for any government to use the argument of a diplomatic immunity in genocide cases?
Absolutely, under any case, because it undermines the legitimate use of diplomatic immunity for all of their other diplomatic officials. So to protect someone who is accused of crimes in that sort hurts not just the image of the country, but hurts all of the working officials that legitimately use diplomatic immunity to pursue their activities in country.
Yeah, George is absolutely right about that. And the reason is that in the Genocide Convention itself, which is the basis for this case, it specifically says that it doesn't matter if you're a government official or even a head of state. If you commit genocide, you can be put on trial.
I'd like to read Article 29 of the Vienna Convention of Diplomatic Relations of 1961. Article 29 says diplomats must not be liable to any form of arrest or detention. They are immune from civil or criminal prosecution, though the sending country may waive this right under Article 32. So, with both countries being party to the Vienna Convention diplomatic relations, United States and India, etc., presumably Article 29 controls, unless the Indian government were to waive it. With that said, my understanding is the State Department has viewed this individual as not being a diplomat. Consequently, he cannot hide under the Vienna Convention of Diplomatic Relations of 1961.
So who decides the immunity issue of granting diplomatic immunity, the state or the court?
The court. The court decides it. In other words, under U.S. law, the State Department can make a recommendation to the court, but it is the court's decision.
But is it typical concern in genocide cases to protect the influential officials by asking for a diplomatic immunity? Indian government is not doing anything illegal here or inappropriate here.
Well, no, just as Anders read, of course, there are certain provisions that would allow them to potentially do so. The issue really here is more of history and precedence of what's happened. You look at the Nuremberg trials. You look at even what's happened recently with Saddam Hussein and so forth. He wasn't granted immunity, and from that standpoint, I think genocide in and of itself is a rather it's not an ancient term. It actually was created right after 1944. So from that standpoint, you really have to look at this case in particular, and was this a violent crime against a group of individuals with the intent of obliterating their existence? And in many people's eyes, it was. And this individual has already had, from what I understand, governments, basically declined his immunity requests and or with regards to visitation requests and so forth. So there have been numerous issues that have surrounded this individual, and if you look at the action of what was mentioned earlier about him going to a temple and surrounding it with 100 people plus and the other actions that were carried out from there forth, I think it's going to be this case for the Indian government specifically will be precedent setting, because if it ends up that he ends up being in any way implicated into this, there will be at least 24 more that will be following right behind him in very short order.
There are, Dr. Singh, several other perpetrators of genocide, high-level cabinet officials, 3 or 4. Why is all the emphasis directed against this cabinet official? Are the others relatively immune, or the charges against them are vague?
No, I think one of the provisions of this law, as has been mentioned, is that you can charge him or issue him the summons to the court when he is in the United States of America.
That's it.
So Kamal Nath was visiting United States last year when this case was filed and the summons were issued to him. Certainly we are waiting for the other killers there, that when they come to United States. And today morning, before coming to this panel discussion, I spoke with Mr. Gurpatwant Singh Pannu, who is the Chief Executive of Sikhs for Justice, that what is the status of the case now and all. And he said that the court has issued them a kind of, again, that they should file any added, amended material for this, and they said that March 1st is the date. And they are hoping that once they are able to bring some expert witnesses and some other material, they are looking for a jury trial on that. And State Department has not yet given any immunity to him on this diplomatic status thing, or they have neither accepted nor denied. And whatever the letter I saw from what they have written to Homeland Security as well as Secretary of State, is that please don't give him immunity, as that will be like condoning the acts of this man who has committed a serious genocide. But State Department is still monitoring the situation, and they haven't come up with anything yet.
Judge, the argument of the lawsuit is, the major argument is that this official, cabinet level official, was leading the mob that committed an act of genocide, organized mob, and the witnesses have for the last 26 years confessed repeatedly about the presence of these high-level officials in the mob. Is this a winning argument, or do you think this doesn't carry much significance?
Well, it's holding him accountable for personal actions. If he wants to argue that he was in some way performing official government duties,
Yes.
Then that's a hell of an indictment of the Indian government. That would be a very interesting case at that point.
But he could make that argument, counter-argument, that he was just making sure that the mob doesn't get chaotic, and he was trying to help.
That is exactly to the media. He is saying this, that I was not there to incite the mob, I was trying to
calm down the people, the riots occurred, and
Wasn't very
therefore...
successful, was it?
Well, if that's his defense, it would be interesting to have him come to court in the United States and make that argument.
Witnesses said he was shouting. He was part of it.
Oh, no, actually he was leading the mob.
He was leading them, telling them what to do, where to put the arson oil, and how to burn people alive. He was providing a moral
3 or 4
support.
were burnt in front of him.
I think do you think the government made a mistake by promoting these perpetrators of genocide to very high-level cabinet officials positions? And had the government not done this, maybe people would have accepted this as sort of riots and not genocide.
Well, yeah, I think it's an incredibly stupid act on their part, because it sort of implies that this is a reward for past work.
Actually, yes, it is a reward.
It elevates those actions to official sanctions of government. That's a terrible, not a very smart thing.
Barbara Crossett of the New York Times was there, and she reported that she was surprised to see that the Home Minister getting elevated to what?
Prime Minister. He became Prime Minister, yes.
And
Actually, Barbara
almost-
Crossett was the New York Times bureau chief in Delhi at that time.
Yes.
And in her reports or dispatches from there, she described that how the complacency of the ministers and all to the lower
She
level.
was shocked to see
Yeah.
the promotion.
Narasimha Rao was the Home Minister in November 84, and he became Prime Minister of India in 91.
Yeah, and he was rewarded.
Rewarded. And all those major killers like Jagdish Titler, Sajjan Kumar, H.K.L. Bhagat were awarded the cabinet berths under Narasimha Rao's government. Even Rajiv Gandhi. Earlier, immediately after that, elections were held. Rajiv Gandhi won the elections with 2/3 majority, and all of them were cabinet ministers in the federal
The
government.
fact that they could do this and felt that they could promote these people with impunity is a reflection, really, for the world at large to see how much moral corruption exists in the existing government.
And I think
that's a systematic problem.
one part which is that during this period from 1984 till 2011, 12 prime ministers India have seen. They came up with 12 different commissions and committees for inquiry, from Mishra Commission to Nanavati Commission. But all of them escaped due to their political link to the Congress party. So,
You know what it reminds me of is that right after a couple of the top officials in the Darfur genocide were indicted by the International Criminal Court, they were elevated to higher positions in the Sudanese government by Bashir. I mean, this is a reward for committing mass murder.